All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to tackle one of those topics that's, well, it's huge and frankly pretty frustrating for a lot of people: housing affordability. It feels so massive, almost impossible to solve sometimes. But here's a thought: what if the real problem isn't the problem itself, but the way we're trying to solve it? So, how do you solve the housing crisis? I mean, that's the big one, right? You see it plastered all over the news, you hear politicians talking about it, and yeah, you probably feel it every time you look at your rent or mortgage payment. The problem feels so massive, it seems like we need some gigantic, sweeping answer to match. And then you hear this phrase right here. You know the drill. Someone proposes a new idea, maybe something small and practical for a local community, and boom, someone shuts it down with, well, it won't solve the housing crisis. It's like the ultimate conversation stopper, a real progress killer. And today, we're going to dig into why that thinking has got to go. And that leads us straight into what you could call the silver bullet trap. It's this mindset, and it's everywhere, that if a policy doesn't fix absolutely everything for every single person right this second, well, then it's useless, not even worth talking about. You know, the thing about this trap is that it forces us into this all or nothing corner. The standard it sets is just impossible. So instead of being able to say, hey, that's a good step forward, we just throw it out because it's not a magical one-shot solution. And that's not just a little unrealistic, it's actually holding us back. Okay, so look at this comparison. It really breaks it down. On one side, you have the silver bullet way of thinking. You're waiting for that one perfect, massive bill. It's all or nothing. And guess what? Nothing happens. You're stalled. But on the other side, you've got the small wins approach. This is all about lots of smaller reforms. The magic here is in the cumulative impact. They all add up and actually start building some real momentum. To really get our heads around this, let's step outside of housing for a second. Let's look at another industry that had to solve a massive, complex problem and see how they did it. Turns out, food tech gives us a pretty amazing analogy for a better approach. Okay, so let's talk about Impossible Foods. I mean, their goal is huge, right? To basically help create a more sustainable food system for the entire planet. But think about it. When they started, did they say our first product has to solve world hunger? No way. Can you imagine? They would have been totally paralyzed. And this is just a perfect illustration of the process. The goal? Massive. The silver bullet approach? Trying to solve it all in one go. But the small win, the real smart move, was to focus on something achievable but still super impactful. Just make a really, really good plant-based burger. And the result? They made real progress. They're actually making a dent on environmental impact on health. It's working. And what this all comes down to is a key idea: cumulative progress. I mean, this is how most big, hairy, audacious problems actually get solved in the real world. It's not about one magic wand. It's about a whole bunch of smaller steps, smaller advancements, all adding up over time. And there's absolutely no reason housing policy should be any different. Every single small win helps move that needle. Okay, so that's a great analogy, but let's bring it back to housing. What do these small wins actually look like in practice? Well, there's a whole arsenal of ideas out there, and a lot of them are already making a real difference. And I want to be super clear, this isn't just some academic theory. This stuff is happening right now. The really good news is that all over the country, you're seeing this momentum building at the state and city level for these kinds of practical step-by-step changes. So what are we talking about? Things like legalizing ADUs, accessory dwelling units, granny flats, that add a little bit of density without changing a neighborhood's character. Or how about this one, getting rid of parking requirements? That alone can slash construction costs by tens of thousands of dollars for a single apartment and free up so much land for actual homes. And then you have reducing lot sizes, making it easier to build manufactured homes. The list just keeps going. And look, does any single one of these solve the whole crisis? No. But taken together, you bet they make a difference. And this is where we need a really big shift in how we think. We have to stop looking at these ideas as an either-or choice. They're not competing against each other. It's about yes and. It's all about stacking these solutions on top of one another. So, for instance, let's take one idea that could have a really outsized, really fast impact: tweaking the capital gains tax on selling a home. If you lowered it or even got rid of it for a little while, you could suddenly unlock a ton of new homes for sale. You'd have all these longtime owners who've been wanting to move but are stuck because of that huge tax bill. Suddenly, they're free to sell. But, and this is so important, We can't let a potentially big idea like that blind us to all the other good ideas. We can't fall right back into that silver bullet trap and say, nope, it's the capital gains thing or nothing. That would be a massive mistake. You know, Representative Jimmy Gomez from California absolutely nailed it at the National Housing Affordability Crisis Summit. He said, we don't need to choose between ideas, we need to enact all of them. That's it. That's the mindset right there. So the big takeaway here is stack the solutions. Think about it. When you combine, say, legalizing ADUs with getting rid of parking minimums, you don't just get A plus B, you get this powerful new synergy. You're creating a whole new incentive for small-scale development, making it both easier and cheaper to build. That's what we're aiming for. It's all about saying yes and instead of no buts.
Okay, so this is how we do it. This is how we actually start to move the needle on affordability. It's not about waiting for a unicorn policy to appear. It's about grabbing onto the power of all these changes adding up.
Let's just be real for a second. The housing market is unbelievably massive and complex. It's different from city to city, state to state. It's just way too complicated for any one silver bullet solution to fix. It always has been, and you know what? It always will be. So where is progress going to come from? It's going to come from dozens of different reforms, at the State House, in City Hall, all over the place. And these little nickel and dime changes, as the source material calls them, that's where the magic is. Because in a market as gigantic as housing, even tiny percentage changes can mean thousands and thousands of new homes. So, what's the big takeaway here? What's the call to action? It's this. The next time you hear someone talking about a new housing idea, fight that urge to ask, but will it solve the whole crisis? Instead, the question should be, does it help? Does it move us forward even a little? We can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We have to push for any good idea that makes things better. Because at the end of the day, those small wins are what add up to a better future. They're what build momentum. They're what deliver real results for real people. And most importantly, they prove that progress is actually possible. So the real question isn't, can we solve the housing crisis? The real question is, which small win are you going to help make happen?